So, well, there are two different.
It's kind of reddish maroon. It's almost like a in between. It's more closer to this. It's like an in between color.
And also there are some like $3.
If you blend those two colors together with your.
It's kind of like a store called Five Below.
Yours is too bright for that.
Yeah, I just got one of those.
Yeah.
Well, technically my mom got one of those. Hey, I got one. I got this. Like, do you want to use it? It's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can use it. It's this.
Are you gonna remain here for winter break or go home?
I think I'm gonna stay here just because winter break is, kind of shorter.
Yeah, it's only 1 week.
And I think there's some like.
I appreciate the message.
I was like, I have to be, have to do like.
I appreciate that.
So I think I just gotta stay. Maybe like summer.
Hey, at some point, do you want to talk about
everything
we were talking about at work the other day?
Sure, yeah, I'm actually today.
Oh, no, I'm totally fine.
Let's see.
Yeah, thanks.
What? Were they supposed to? No, I don't. I thought it maybe I hooked up to the other thing.
Are you on the side of it?
That's what you said.
I say that again?
Is it not? I thought we changed it.
It's been how many years?
Oh, we still have to. We split the audio out process.
Oh, okay. I need one more
Yeah,
cable.
I'm not doing camera that kind of.
Oh, okay. Is that okay, Robert?
What?
Center of camera.
Is it okay if the audio cable runs over in the middle?
You don't have early mornings?
Okay, that's fine.
What about people at 8 a.m.?
I am.
That's supposed to be my.
I'm always.
Okay, you gonna start calling?
Why don't you run for an executive meeting?
Okay, sounds good.
I'm sleeping.
Okay, I'd like to go across, so. I mean, that's true. I have more skin as well. Instead of just be committed to fully one thing, is that how you train?
Rachel said no next Friday.
And that's why I know everything.
Rihanna, I have a beautiful pitch for you. I have a beautiful motion I want to show you. As I
Did you just come up with that committee?
It's technically passed out of committee.
It's not passed. It's not. So it's, okay, so it
Fast.
sounds like a little
So
bit of controversy.
It's fast.
Whether it's fast.
Who's I for?
4 to 2.
Whereas milk is sold out at Chet's place, Mav Ave, and Julius Sears Grill, and whereas having milk is your drink of choice is disgusting, let it be resolved that milk is no longer sold at Chet's place, Mav Ave, and the Julius Sears Grill and the dining hall. Further, let it be resolved that milk shall not appear in a Mankato University branding ever.
I would like oatmeal instead of.
Motion by you and second by Samantha. So how popular was this motion?
4 to 2.
They simply came at me.
Pretty sure that's a very stupid
I'm thinking you had some real stuff.
No.
And some milk.
No, I'm so sorry.
Nice
That's actually.
to meet you. I didn't get a chance to meet you a lot. I know, I love it. I'm sorry. So are we at
I know that this area is add-on.
Yeah.
So as soon as he calls,
We
I'm on the right
didn't ourselves go. We used that same.
No, I'm sorry, Rihanna. I will bring you.
No, I'm thinking it's something juicy. It's milk.
Well, milk is the opposite of juice, which is why we want advanced.
How did milk used to was added first by?
Just a red flag.
I
did we get on those topics?
Oh, wait, no, I'm a team lead for students that are taking. What do you look at it called?
I didn't expect
Do you want to people that cancel on us? You're one of them? Was that a good deal? 25%. I'll tell you if you get, if you come with this early morning. You'll tell me for the exact deal. Yeah.
President's Day, should I go breakfast?
Yes, it's right here. I don't think that is, I don't know if you want to. Hey, bring it back. I have a couple of expenses. Hey, I got 3
Actually, this is Patrick.
That's Patrick.
Oh, yes.
I got the flex. I got the money.
This one must be going to airport for free.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing.
Did you need something? Okay.
Are you?
I'm all stressed, are you? Hungry?
No. Sleepy.
Yeah.
Do you have me on a speaker list for
I don't, but I can tell not for presentations or open forum. Okay, yep, I'll tell them.
I think he's just talking about like digital
He's got a pretty good other job.
No, I didn't know if he was like meeting with you or anything.
Oh, no. Thank you. Pretty good.
It's not a real one.
Okay, I was like,
No, we can get a lot of.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Test.
But yeah, I had to relax after the weekend.
That was like a blowing out.
yeah, actually, I moved on to
I still want more.
Johannes, can you help me with this real quick? Because I can't. There was 3 on here, so I don't know which one's which. So
Test
I'll tell
1,
him
2.
to resend.
Maybe someone else.
Oh, okay. I was showing what it looked like. No, I was like,
So it's probably.
Or not.
No, that's okay. Yep.
Huh.
Probably the bottom one. I don't know.
We can test one at a time.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
just finish it.
Yeah, the sound's supposed to.
Yeah.
Better? Okay, I thought so. Oh, okay, thank you. Well, he's loud, I'm gonna turn him down.
You can, since you have a specific one, you probably need to leave the other one so it wouldn't be a problem with the method. Like you can just remove them there, it should be.
You want to just remove them?
It's been quantity all over the organs.
And did you get them all?
Yeah, so you only have one.
Thank you.
Not a good idea. That'll have to be a child this year.
Yeah. I have a lot of agendas. Oh, this is also a lot of organization. Yeah, I forget.
That's
I didn't plug it in on mine, it's plugged into the one in the middle.
organizations that need to be recognized, so that
It's not on my camera. It's still.
candidate guides.
It's the one.
Oh. Wait, is that on me?
He's in the
For which one?
Oh, that's a joke. We good.
This is what they're gonna get.
is this semi-full?
My winter coat. Like just in the door. Hey, Rihanna, what day in the morning? Oh, Lord, 10 o'clock sharp. Oh, what do you get up late for me? I wake up at 5:30.
I woke up at
5:30. Wait, what day at 10 o'clock you said?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I can try it. Yeah, so I'm gonna see if we can get away with that. So there's other.
Oh, it's printed in color too.
One of my glasses.
Sir, not open the criticism right now. Good luck on
Last week? I don't think we're still sitting here already.
Which camera is channel 4?
Yeah, that's why. You see Joey on your right now? No, I will.
Test 1.
What's we got on?
All right, everyone, if I can have everyone take their seats, we're going to get started here.
We can just be, CEO and just wear whatever.
Almost like this.
Yeah, that'll be nice actually. Okay. Just a minute.
All right.
Not good.
Maybe that was probably my dream. For the other thing, your name will be on the check, huh? It's so specific.
Oh no, I have. They don't have
This is commission on you.
Okay, good.
All right, everybody, since we're running a minute or two late, why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves, because we have Senator Nick Prince joining us today. So we can start from here. Do you want to go first, Rihanna?
Hi, I've already introduced myself, but welcome, Senator Nick Prince, to Student Government once again. Thank you for being here today.
I can go next. Hello again, my name is Renato. I'm the Speaker of Student Government, and I am more than thankful that you have given us the time and here with us today. We're very excited to hear from you.
Hi, my name is Kara. I'm the vice president. I'm a junior majoring in social work, and I'm really excited to have you.
Hello, we met a few times. I'm Zahara. I'm one of the at-large senator. I'm studying aviation, and this is my second year studying government.
Hi, I'm Patrick Flynn. I'm a residential life senator, meaning I represent students who live on campus. My major is a master's in information technology, and I have an interest in the melding of IT and political science together.
Hi, I'm Nirmal, and I'm an off-campus major. My major is aviation.
Hello, my name is Namit Rajagopal. I'm serving as an off-campus senator over here. I'm doing my master's over here in the stream of automotive engineering technology.
Hi, I'm Victor Wing, and I'm a junior, so I'm an off-campus senator, so I represent the off-campus student. I'm a junior, I'm double major in accounting and finance.
My name is Elvira Pena. I'm a philosophy, politics, and economics major. Actually, my first meeting as an off-campus senator.
Hello, my name is David Wing. I am an off-campus senator as well, and I'm also a philosophy, politics, and economics major with an emphasis in political science.
Hi, I'm Ozan Benbe. I'm a graduate student senator, and I'm studying a master's in info technology. And thanks so much for coming here.
Hi, I'm Flynn, and I'm a assistant senator. It's my second year running for the second year here as senator in the government.
Hello, I am Monica Smith. I am a major of Allied Health and Nursing, and I'm also doing my undergraduate degree in nursing. Thank you.
I'm Audrey, and I'm also a second year senator as well. And I'm a double major for biomedical science and laboratory science, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Zaifa. I'm an off-campus senator, and this is my first year at MNSU and first year in the Senate.
Hi, my name is Rito Hashimoto, and I'm an Arts and Humanities senator, and I'm a junior majoring in interdisciplinary culture of multicultural society and open leadership.
Hi, my name is Marissa. I'm an at-large senator. My major is marketing, and this is my first year as student.
Hi, I'm Jaden. I'm a CSET senator, and I'm a sophomore majoring in mechanical engineering.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. It's my first year at MSU and first year senator. I'm a vice senator, and I'm excited.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm a college of business senator, and I'm a junior studying international business.
Awesome. So we can officially get started. I call this meeting. Oh, sorry, Joey. Go ahead.
Okay. Howdy, Joey Novak, aviation major, residential life senator.
Awesome. Let's get started. I officially call this meeting into order at 4:14 p.m. Our first order of business is roll call. Senator Swankit.
Here.
Senator Bassnett.
Here.
Senator Hashimoto.
Here.
Senator Chimazi.
Here.
Senator Carlson. Senator Carlson over Zoom.
She can't talk.
All right. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Senator Andy Demby.
Here.
Senator T. Schaefer.
Here.
Senator Hawk.
Here.
Senator Basha. Senator Basha. Senator Osman.
Here.
Senator Waldo.
Here.
Senator Saha. Senator Saha. Senator Rajagopal.
Here.
Senator Koku.
Here.
Senator Nguyen.
Here.
Senator Uzefa.
Here.
Senator Wing.
Here.
Senator Alfredo. Senator Nowak.
Howdy.
Senator Flynn.
Here.
Senator Hopwood.
Here.
Senator Hussain.
Here.
Senator Roiger. President Stiff? Here. Vice President Severso? Here. Speaker Khan? Here. All right, our first order of business is presentations. I have Senator Nick Prince. You have the floor.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. It's my pleasure to join you. As I've already been introduced, my name is Nick Prince. I serve as a state senator for District 19, which includes this fantastic campus, and all of Nicola County, part of Blue Earth and LeSueur County, altogether about 85,000 great Minnesotans. And I used to be in college, so I'm jealous of you to have a great life in front of you, which as future leaders, you are definitely going to have. I have about 10 minutes worth of remarks to share with you. I will stay all day answering questions, whatever sounds good to any of you. No question off the table. How am I doing so far?
Great.
Okay. Just to give you a little bit of background, my father's side of the family is from Mankato and first came here about 150 years ago. Almost all of that on Van Brunt Street and Liberty Street, if you know where that is, not too far from here. But he was drafted into the United States Army after he got out of Mankato High School. And so naturally, he was shipped to Northern California, and needless to say, I don't need to tell all of you, I was born in Japan, where I was on an Army base, and my mother, who's from Los Angeles, took a ship for 2 weeks to go over there just for the pleasant experience of giving birth to me, at the time, the largest baby in the hospital's history, but never mind that. Returned then when my father was discharged from the service, and we were raised in Northern California, but I came back to Mankato once or twice a year. Back then, my great-grandparents were still alive, my grandparents, my cousins, millions of them, and I loved the Mankato area and sort of made a pledge that I would move back to this part of the country, which I did the minute I got out of high school 41 short years ago. I'm married and have 4 kids. We've lived in North Mankato the whole 33 years I've been married. I've served in the Senate for, this is my 5th year, elected in 2016 and then re-elected in 2020. I'm a member of the DFL party. We can talk party politics if you want. Also, my secret other life is that I'm a practicing attorney, still full-time, and work at the Mashka Law Firm, which is here in Mankato, and I've been doing exclusively civil litigation for my full 34-year career. So, during that time, I have been on this campus roughly 10 million times, and when I moved back to Minnesota, I was 17, and to me, the students here seemed impossibly old and mature. So that half of that is still true. That was a compliment. Being in the Senate is a privilege, and I know that if I don't leave you with any other thought about your own roles, here it is. The students elected you to serve the greater good, and it's an honor and a privilege, and it's really cool. But as you go through the decisions that you make, sometimes easy, sometimes maybe a little tougher, those students, those constituents of yours, they wanted you here. You're the ones that they said, go to the Senate, make the decisions. So have a little bit of a sense of you are not just here in your own regard, but on behalf of all those people who, for whatever reason, said you should be the one to make those choices. And the fun part is also the tough part, which is that not everyone's going to agree with every decision that you make. Well, tough toasties for them. If they want to run for Senate, they can do that next time around. And I think you deserve a little pat on the back and also a little bit of confidence that you're in the best position to do the work that you have in front of you. And some of it is kind of cool. So I hope you enjoy it. And don't take any crap. You know, you don't have to defend your decisions except to the people who voted for you. And if you're listening, you're more likely to get it right. So I was asked to talk a little bit about how students, serving can help and find more things that they could do to become involved. And here's just a couple thoughts that maybe you already thought of, so I'm going to say them anyway. A volunteer position allows you to go for a minute or an hour or a week or whatever you want to try something out. An internship is more of a structured time limit where you say, I'm going to do that for a semester. I'm going to give you 2 days a week. We have an excellent internship program at the Minnesota Senate. Those are the kinds of things, whether it's politics, environment, student life, housing, anything that interests you, where you're looking for a match between things that you're interested in and things that you're good at. They're not always equal, but if you find something that you enjoy, those types of opportunities will give you a better chance to find the one thing that you're going to do. My college journey went something like this. I just assumed that I would be a sports writer, where, as I understood, they paid you to go watch the Super Bowl every year. Turns out after 2 years as a journalism major, there was a little more to it, and my advisors said, no, I don't think you're going to make it in journalism. It doesn't suit you, in particular, the 10 p.m. deadlines every night. You should go into pre-law. I thought, really? Okay. So those voices in your life who maybe offer you some thoughts that you hadn't thought of, don't be afraid to listen to them. And don't be afraid to talk to the people that don't agree with you. One of the things we have today in American politics is what we call the echo chamber, which is a group of people will go into a room with people they already know are going to agree with them. And they say, hey, we're all right, aren't we? Yeah, definitely, we're right. And then they come out of there and they say these famous words, everybody agrees with us. No, they don't. You went into that room knowing they were going to agree with you. Do not take an in-depth sampling. Don't be afraid to talk to people who disagree with you. We have these arguments in the Senate sometimes about who we'll share a bill with or who we're going to tell our ideas to. And I always say, when they say, well, I don't want to talk to that person, they're going to disagree with me. I say, what are you afraid they're going to do? Makes sense? So if you've listened to the other side of an argument, you've just strengthened your own position. And if you haven't strengthened it, you found out something that, let me tell you, it'd be better off to find out earlier than have it come tumbling out in a committee hearing. Ask me about that on my next visit. Connections. There's a limitless number of connections for all of you to make, and there is no end to people in this world, in the southern Minnesota world, that want to connect with you. I've met some of you before. People are lining up to have a chance to meet you, to offer you opportunities, to see what you're interested in, to go volunteer, to serve as an intern, whatever it is. You're probably not giving yourself enough credit, but at your age, and setting aside the fact that you've been selected as leaders, you are going to be running this place very soon, and people will want to give you those opportunities. So when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. Grew up just fine anyway. But you have the ability to look at dozens of opportunities and get on the phone. Say, hey, what about this? Do I like it? And I encourage you to do that. And just like applying for a job where people are going to be lining up to hire you, but that's a different meeting, don't be afraid to ask questions that make the person who's talking to you about the opportunity open up a little bit. Well, what are the things that I might not like? What are the opportunities here that other interns or volunteers or workers did not like? Those are the ways to find out what's the best fit for you. It probably goes without saying that those that are more comfortable reaching out are more likely to get some opportunities. We have a Senate internship program, and a typical applicant pool would have maybe 50. This is sort of self-designed, but typically 2 days a week at the Senate, which is, of course, in St. Paul when we're in session. And you'd be surprised how many people reach out or text the legislative assistant. My boss is Justin Emmerich from Andover, Minnesota, but of course he went to school here, and he runs my calendar and all the Senate interns. So sending Justin a text is not the worst idea ever if you want to have one of those internships, and that applies to all the different opportunities that you may have. Also, be aware of the opportunities that are available to you. There's a limitless number of examples. Are you a mechanical engineer? Are you in a field that is in demand? Well, then there's probably more opportunities for you than the average student. Are you in a demographic, young, gender, race, that for which there are other opportunities? Go to them, find out. That's what we're doing here. The state and the nation are moving to greater communities of color. That's just a fact. And so for those opportunities, we want to build all the communities together, and there are sometimes opportunities that are only available to certain groups. Go find them. That's why they have them. And if they suit you, take them. And then dominate at them and be great. And then tell the next person, hey, I did this internship last year. It's great. You should try it. You'll be glad you did. And the person that you refer there will have the added credibility that you did a great job. And when the person making the decision, like this Justin Emmerich kid I keep mentioning, they're going to say, well, just as an example, if any of you know the name Andrew Trenny, but Andrew Trenny's a former intern of ours. Well, Justin, my LA, runs around talking about how great Andrew Trenny is, and now I see Andrew's name applying for other stuff higher up the food chain. Well, sure enough, those people are talking to Justin saying, is he really that great? Of course, Justin's like, well, he went to MSU Mankato, he must be great. And my point is that works. Keep in mind, the corollary is also true. If you're going to do a half-hearted effort at anything in life, that too will get around, and sometimes bad reviews get around quicker than good ones. That's not political advice. That's just kind of the real-world part of it. Okay. What to focus on while you're in school? I'm actually not the perfect one to ask. I'm more of a fan of the extracurricular part of school, but that's the 80s, and I'll tell you about it when you're older. Here would be my take. you are just as likely to make the connections or find the activity that suits you in your extracurricular activities as you are in your major. So if you're a biology major, there's a lot of cool kids in biology, you meet them, hey, how's it going? Do you want to have lunch or talk or be in our study group or whatever it is? But then you're just as likely to bump into that person in drama or music or sports. And I am a big believer that an extracurricular gives you the balance to keep you sane while you're in school. You just cannot study all day long. And so whether it's drama or music or sports or whatever you enjoy doing, find a little bit of that time for yourself. It will enhance the stuff you're doing, and you will make connections outside of your major that are sometimes just as valuable. Most of my friends to this day are friends of mine from the extracurriculars that we did, which is basically sports growing up, and that's just the group that we're in. Focusing in school on majors, this probably won't surprise you, but having told you that they talked me out of my original major, I don't think you have to major in what you want to do in some disciplines. In law school, they're always saying we need more history majors. Your major may inform you and help you say, yep, that's where I want to go, but it's just as likely that it gives you a perspective where if you're a poli-sci major, you find, well, actually, there's some stuff going on in education that fits that. That's not exactly poli-sci, but I want to do that. And don't be afraid to look at the courses that you study as a little bit of a branch into some things that you hadn't thought of before. And then finally, we could talk about politics all day, but there is a future for all of you if you want to serve an elected office. Lord help you. The world is looking for those people that are willing to put up with the negatives, which include time. You can usually make more money doing something else. There is the occasional criticism of politicians, although I have never experienced it myself. And you all have a future. You wouldn't be sitting here if there weren't a lot of people that are your peers saying, no, you are a leader right now. And picture a resume, which is what candidates for office really are putting out there when they say, please vote for me. And it says, Minnesota State Student Senate. Well, that's just a huge plus. That's not the only thing that people consider, but it's a major plus. It means not only do you say that you're great and talented and passionate and capable, but so did a bunch of other people. Does that make sense? And then finally, and this is from an earlier remark, but you got to talk to everybody. You simply cannot be great in your life in politics or outside if you're only listening to one group. You have got to go talk to other people. It doesn't mean they have to disagree with you, but do not be afraid to say, well, why do you think this? And to ask and to test it. You'll be much stronger. And once in a while, they have a good point. And once in a while, you're saying, well, I talked to so-and-so. Plus, again, your credibility is something that you trade on. And if you're able to say, I went and talked to this group that usually disagrees with me, then the people listening just say, well, wait a second. That sounds like someone who's interested in a well-rounded answer and has done peer review, if you know that professor term, where they make everyone look at it and say how much it sucks. And then eventually they change it and they get it so everyone goes, yeah, now it's good. Don't be afraid to talk to those voices. You find on campus the students that are often the most respected are the ones that are willing to listen to opposing viewpoints, and often the ones that get a lot of things done. At the end of the day, you're sitting in those chairs to do good things for your constituents. That's what you want. That's what they want. If you do a great job, you'll have fun in it. You'll brag about it. I was the dorm council president, and we, had a lot of fun. But it's not worth doing a halfway job. You got to be good at it. I did not talk about my work in the Senate, but I'm happy to do that. I set a little timer here. It says that I'm roughly where you wanted me to be for timing.
You can take all the time, because I'm sure that we're very excited to hear your feedback, and every senator was very excited to have you. So I'm more than happy to give you as much time needed.
Okay. And if I ask everyone to raise their hand how much they want me to keep talking, is every hand going to go up?
Let's do that.
No, don't. You're playing right into a trap. All right, well then, I really think there's a lot to be gained by some Q&A, but I'll say a little bit more about the work in the Senate, and then I'm negotiating a deal. A few more minutes here, and then you go to Q&A. Madam Speaker, is that acceptable to you?
Works for me.
Done. Okay. So into this life, which I was happily living with the kids and working as a lawyer, some people came to me, including my predecessor, Senator Kathy Sharon, for about 5 years before I ran, and said, you should run for Senate. You should do this. It'd be really cool. And I did not mention this, but my mother was the chief of staff for the California State Senate for 8 years. So picture their caucus of senators, and then they have dozens of staff, and she was the boss of that staff. So I had actually seen state Senate working, And the state Senate work, as opposed to the U.S. Senate, is much more focused on the things that go on in the state. So if you think of your typical congresswoman, she's interested in foreign policy, she's interested in nationwide health care, she's interested in the national issues a little more than are we going to fund these improvements to Armstrong Hall. Here last week, I authored a bill to improve Armstrong Hall and to make it better for the students. A state legislator is more likely to be doing that. I think that's really cool. And unlike a congresswoman, I represent an area that's kind of where I'm from and where I know the people. Typical congressman or woman represents about 800,000 Minnesotans, including a lot of places they're not from, they didn't grow up, they don't know the people, whatever. So it's a little bit more comfortable for me. I'm an assistant minority leader, which is a caucus position, so there are 31 DFL senators, and we have 3 leaders. I'm one of them, which means that I have additional responsibility to run around and assign people to committees and tell people, do this bill or go sign Senator Jones's bill or go oppose this or what's going on, or to run meetings, or just kind of typical leadership. For example, like the speaker of a student senate might have, or the president or vice president. I also serve on some committees, which I'm proud of, and that's where if you have a particular policy interest, higher education, for example, which is a really cool committee, you can serve on a committee where you're very deep in the weeds on the funding, the process. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. You may remember from a year ago, we were working with MSU students from the international community on healthcare costs and how we're going to defray those, all that stuff. A committee lets you get into the really nitty-gritty, and if it's a topic you like or you're good at, that's a good thing. I serve on the Agriculture Committee, which is a natural for us down here. This is an ag district for the most part. I serve on the Rules Committee as an assistant leader, so that's kind of like, arguing about what the rules are going to be for the Senate. Sometimes some very colorful arguments. It's bipartisan, so that's always fun. I serve on the Pension Commission, so if you got any professors, they typically draw a pension, and so we argue about what our rates are going to be and how the rate of return is going to be in our investment and how much they're going to get when they turn 60, and are they really going to live to 85? No, it's 83. All that stuff. About $100 billion of taxpayer money. I love that. I'm the ranking member on the Senate Energy and Utilities Committee. That takes up a lot of my committee work. That means that it's my job to fight climate change along with the ranking member and chairs of the Environment Committee. So for me, I'm like buried in the climate change debate and trying to get stuff done and trying to understand where people are, and bills come forward, including the opportunity to chief author some bills that we're very proud of. I'm the chief author of the governor's 100% bill. That seems common sense to me that we would go to 100% carbon-free energy by a certain date. You don't have to agree with that or disagree, but that's the kind of legislation that comes through. And then I serve on the Legislative Audit Commission, which is another cool one where the state, it might surprise you to know, has an auditor's office just for state government stuff. So that, for example, the higher ed budgets have about $18 billion that we give out every 2 years. And the legislative auditor has the responsibility to go in there and do an audit and say, well, spending too much on desks, or we've got to increase funding for student senate field trips, or whatever it is. And we just hired a new legislative auditor today after 36 years with the previous one. So if you hear the name Judy Randall, she'll be the new director of the legislative auditor. Typical week, I live in St. Paul for about 5 months a year, so the taxpayers provide an apartment for legislators that are from more than, I think it's 70 miles away. My house in North Mankato is maybe 90, and so I live at Kellogg Square Apartments during the week, come home Thursday night or Friday, do stuff in district, meetings, I work as a lawyer, and then the session typically adjourns by constitution after a set number of days. In my first 5 years, that's about the end of May, give or take. And there's different things you do in the different sessions, but that is the shortest I can make it for what I'm up to in the Senate. That's the shortest. So, don't you have a bunch of piercing questions that you just can't wait to ask?
Awesome. So at this point, I will open the floor for questions. Senator Hawk.
Hi there, Senator.
Hi, Senator.
I was really interested in asking you a question that is, one of my projects does not only involve the school, but something that I would want to be changed. As I went through the project, I saw it's a hurdle throughout the state. Will it be possible for me to maybe reach out to you to work on that and maybe bring some changes to it? And if it is possible, maybe have some contact information here, or maybe a card so that I can reach out to you and make that possible.
Senator Hawk, right?
Yes.
Yes, Senator Hawk, I promise you we can do that. In fact, I was supposed to bring up these brochures. I mentioned this guy, Justin. He said, bring the brochures up, and I left them in my vehicle, and I'll go get them and bring them back. It has all my contact information. I'm sure he's got a copy for every one of you. But let me make a larger point, Senator, is that most of the good ideas for legislation do not come from the legislators, but from the public. So as you can imagine, the average legislator's knowledge of the world and the Capitol is about a mile wide. We have 22 standing committees and about a foot deep. So I show up with a little bit of experience in civil litigation. So if you have lawyer questions about the rules of evidence, yep, I can go on the Judiciary Committee and talk about that. Everything else, transportation, environment, funding of state government, judiciary, all that, nope, I need help. Your idea is probably from your own experience of how you can make something better, right?
Yes, it's not actually from me. I'm an undergraduate student, but my idea was for not my constituency, but for graduate students, of maybe increasing their hours from 14 to a higher number. I was hoping that would be possible. I went through the entire state laws and everything, so that is what is stopping it from going above 14 hours, and I was hoping to be able to work with you,
Sure.
if it's possible, to make that possible.
Sure. Well, I'd be happy to, and again, I'll bring the contact information up. But my example is someone has an idea, you work with the local legislator. I also have 2 House of Representatives members, I have not mentioned them, but a Senate district in Minnesota is broken into 2 equal House districts, about 42,000 each, and Luke Frederick, who's also a former Maverick, is the House representative from here, and he would be one that we'd want to engage in that conversation if it gets to the point where we're going to draft a bill. So yeah, I mean, we get 50 to 200 emails a day, and many of them are members of the public or local student bodies saying, hey, can you do this, or what about that? By the way, for things that directly affect Maverick students, there is another player, some people in the gallery here might be familiar with them, but Minnesota State, which is the administrative body that runs all the campuses, and where you're talking about things that cost money, they sometimes have an opinion, because if you're going to just say fund additional student support, that sounds great, but the budget must balance. And so I thought someone said maybe they were partially a finance major, but the hardest part of the state budgeting is also the best part. It has to balance. So that if we were to increase funding for student senators by $1 million, that's just great. I met with them this week. They're a great group. Someone else is getting $1 million less, or you're going to raise taxes $1 million. And so for the min-state discussions, they get an appropriation of a certain number of billions. I don't even want to tell you. And they have their own process for sending it out. And sometimes for those proposals, they step in and say, yeah, I see here you talked to Senator Hack. Well, we want to talk to her too. And they may have a take on it that requires us to blend in the interests of the students you're talking about with other students. And not that there's ever been any disagreements at the Minnesota State Senate or with Minnesota State. So yeah, I promise to get you the contact information before I leave campus, but not before I leave this room. Thank you, Senator. Well done. See how easy it is to raise these questions? Surely one of you's got a question like that.
Yes. I have next Senator Nowak.
Howdy, Senator.
Senator, it's nice seeing you in your more official capacity.
Yes, you have to deal with me too much, and I'm sorry about that.
No, you got to have full disclosure. We marched in the Maverick Homecoming Parade together, which is the thing people do.
It was an absolute blast.
Yeah,
but
I fell behind as I always do.
Oh, well, to be fair, I was on rollerblades, so I was kind of cheating.
I was going to fall behind anyway. You always meet people that you know, hey, how are you doing? You know, and then they have their kids with them or whatever. So anyway, you kept up and I didn't. But Senator, I interrupted you.
No, totally all right. So I wanted to ask, because you said that you are a member of the Agricultural Committee, something was recently brought to my attention within a congressional district meeting for DFL 19A, in which people were talking about an issue that had been observed with some old infrastructure around storage of manure that had been leaking runoff into the Minnesota River. I was wondering if there was any initiatives that were currently going on to remedy that.
See me fix this up? Yes, Senator, I'm glad you asked me about that. One of the challenges when you work for a state is to balance the immediate economic interest of constituents with the collective environmental interest of the whole state. Perfect example. Agriculture in Minnesota is about a $21 billion a year business. They're families that have a small business, they grow stuff, and there's runoff into the river, there's fertilizer, there's concerns with clean water, clean air, all of it. Just like if you were an automobile manufacturer. They say, well, we got some people making money and serving the community, but they also produce some pollution. So the balancing of those interests is often started with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. they have authority both at the state and federal level to manage runoff and fertilizer and manure and how you get a permit for discharge and all that kind of thing. I won't put you to sleep with that. But I am working on a bill, and the city of Mankato is a partner in that, to change basically the way we treat water and to provide credits to agriculture and the 41 communities up and down the Minnesota River Basin so that we would decrease the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen that go into the river without, we hope, knock wood, too much of a negative impact on either the state's collective coffers or individual agricultural operations, which in Nicollet County, where most of the farms I represent are, is all families. So we have a little bit of tension from agriculture areas to more metropolitan areas where they don't know each other very well, and they tend to think that the other one is Darth Vader. And so part of our job is not technical, but I'll call it spiritual, to just say, okay, these are families, they want clean water, they want to make a living. Countless opportunities to find conflict between the right to earn a living and the collective good on the environment. Go up to the Iron Range and talk to them about northern Minnesota mining and see if you can find someone who wants to disagree. I'll spare you. So that's a good question. You can ask me more about those bills too. There's also a credit trading bill, since you asked, Joey. There's also a credit trading bill that talks about the future where we might, like carbon trading, if you're familiar with that process, where we might do the same thing with credits to allow different entities to say, we're going to take so much out that we can sell the clean water to entities that aren't making it any cleaner but are paying for that. You're going to hear a lot about a carbon tax on this planet in the next year, I think. I didn't think that one up. Thank you for that question, Senator.
Thank you. Vice President Seversol.
All right,
Vice President.
So my question is going to be related to higher ed. Last spring, it was definitely down to the minute trying to figure out how higher ed would be funded and tuition and all of that. And I know the bill to wrap the online differential did go through. But I'm curious, over between last year and this year, we're looking at a 10% tuition increase. And as I'm sure you know, students were impacted and hit hard by the pandemic and not getting direct relief until almost the very end there. And so I'm wondering, what are we looking at in terms of tuition and making sure that college remains affordable, especially here, the most affordable school in the state? Because if this one's not, then what are students on?
Nicely played, Madam Vice President. Nicely played. Well, first of all, I'll go to the end. My prediction is that with the $1.2 billion of American Rescue Plan money that the state has, that in the short term, we will protect students from any significant tuition increase. That's just 1 out of 67 senators, but that'd be my guess. There's too much ability to take the sting out short term. A better question is, as we go forward in the longer term, how are we going to fund higher education? I am the only one in my family that was not a public school teacher or professor. By the way, that's why my little sister, who teaches 4th grade, has this joke she always tells. I'll try it on you. Nick is not a teacher, he's a lawyer. That's how you know he's the dumbest of the 3 kids. But I am one of those legislators that wants to invest in education because I think it's a quality of life and economic driver. I feel like you are in a better position to contribute to our economy and to have more fun in your lives with education. The state had a promise not many years ago to pay for 2/3 of your higher education costs. We're way short of that, way short.
Yep.
And we not only battle over tuition, we battle over things like how we're going to fund the operations of these universities. And by the way, I'm on tape here, so I got to watch what I say. There is a healthy debate about the number of campuses that we have open, whether the cost is a worthwhile one to provide that education to that many students. I am glad to report, which you probably already know, which is Mankato is not a campus where anyone's saying, well, we've got to shut that campus down. We just can't have that one. It's only got 15,000 great students. But there are campuses in the Mid-State system who have lower enrollments or declining enrollments. And you start to hear people say stuff like, well, if we were to do this with this campus, we would have more than enough money to offset tuition for this other group of students. I do not serve on the higher ed committee, but was down here 2 years ago with Senator Greg Clausen, who was our ranking member. I'd be happy to put you in touch with more. Also, there is not agreement about the value of higher education amongst legislators. And you tend to find that that breaks a little bit along political lines. And I would just say that. And by the way, back to my point earlier, if we increase funding for higher education to offset, we want the students to pay less tuition, right? that's going to be another area on the budget where you're going to have to say, okay, where's this money coming from? And while I'm telling you there's one-time money through the American Rescue Plan that we set aside specifically to do whatever we thought we'd need, $1.2 billion, that's not in perpetuity. And that does not mean 3 years from now we have the ability to take the tuition increase out of there. It relates to some other issues, which is we got a lot of very fine people working at this university, and the state contracts for employees and the pensions that go with them are just as earnestly negotiated and an expense too. After all, those are the people that without which we wouldn't have this great campus for you to all get so much smarter and more successful at. It's a little plug for my friends in the faculty. Is that fair? I think you're going to find the short term it'll be okay, longer term questions remain, as they do in many states.
Yep, it is fair. I think it's worth noting though, as you talk about, if we put more money there, it takes more money from somewhere else. State did make a commitment to fund 2/3, and I hope we continue, or at least move back to trying to honor that commitment.
Well, Madam Vice President, I was one of the people who was with the group that walked the 100 miles from the Mavericks 3 years ago. I don't know if you remember this, probably before your time, but a group of Maverick students started right down here and over a 3-day period walked all the way to the Capitol to request that the state honor its commitment to pay for 2/3, which not only was impressive, by the way, I only went for the beginning part and then met them at Casetas up in St. Paul, but they walked 100, including the then Speaker of the Student Senate, Faisal. And my point is, it's out there that the students want tuition relief, and who can blame them? Into that, you have other groups saying, well, then who's getting less? And as you often find in politics, it's easy to say, we're going to give you this money. It's a lot harder to say, oh, you were getting this money, but now you're not getting it this year. And I think your understanding of that will probably become clearer and clearer as your school year goes on, as people start saying, well, you'll do this for us, won't you? And you're like, well, yeah, it makes sense. And then another group will come by and say, did you just tell these guys you would do that? Don't you realize this causes us to whatever? Fair enough? To be continued?
Yes.
Thank you.
Senator Flynn?
Thanks for coming to speak with us today.
Senator Flynn.
Still feels weird to be called that after 2 years.
I mean it as a compliment.
So, did I hear you right when you said you were on the committee for energy, was it?
Yeah, my largest commitment of my time when we're in session is I'm the ranking member on the Energy and Utility Committee.
Okay, so I have kind of a specific question that affects a lot of people that I feel like hasn't been getting proper attention. About that big snowstorm that hit Texas, when rates like jumped all over the place for natural gas, and utility companies attempted to recoup the cost from their customers. And the problem is a lot of these utilities were not using metering where they could tell how much gas was used on a specific day. So on my utility bill at home right now, I'm paying $40 a month for 3 days of natural gas, even though I took the responsible step of like reducing the temperature of my house, turning down my water heater, because I kind of figured something like that was coming. Has there been any discussions about resolving that issue of the surcharges being passed from utility companies to customers for what they assume was used and not what they can prove was used during those time periods?
Senator, that's an excellent question, and the answer is significant discussion. We had a proposal shortly after there for $100 million of relief to the utilities, including the municipal utilities, which are typically much smaller and therefore more vulnerable to price spikes. Just for those of you who weren't following this, what happened in Texas is that they have an unregulated energy community. They are not required to do certain things like wrap their pipes in foam, and for that they received a little bit of a lower cost while it was working. But when the cold snap came through, things froze up, including natural gas and wind, which were thought to be potentially viable in combination, and the spot market, which says, okay, if I have to buy some extra natural gas, I'll go out and buy it this week, went from $90 to $9,000 or whatever for a short period of time. By the way, Senator Flynn, Texas acknowledges that about $16 billion was lost to their ratepayers that will never be recovered. $16 billion. You could fund all the higher education in Minnesota for 2 years to your resolution, here's what I'd say. The $100 million, which had the support of my caucus and the governor, did not go through. It's not that it can't, and most of those expenses that you're talking about are supposed to be spread out over a 12-month period in which we could come back in January and fix that. There is not a partisan angle to that. It's simply a matter of the money. And if you want a comparison, we have $250 million, which we already have appropriated for frontline workers. It's called the money for the heroes, nurses, technicians, those that work in direct contact with people with COVID. And we can't even agree on how to give that out. So that at the middle of the line is the ratepayers, that's your group, who say, this is totally not my fault. How can you be hitting me up for this? And it has an aspect of businesses too. Those businesses that consume a great deal of energy are even more exposed and are jumping up and down saying, what are you going to do? This could put us out of business. So you'll see some relief. How much, I don't know. I'll say this, we had a joint, these are kind of cool sometimes. We had a joint hearing of the House and Senate Energy Committee, which I kind of like because you see the House. It's kind of wild in the House. And the testimony from the Public Utilities Commission, by the way, there's a commissioner about 6 blocks this way, Joe Sullivan, was that the impact on Minnesota ratepayers combined for that cold snap of how many hours was $900 million. And so the $100 million is an attempt to put a little bit of a Band-Aid on things. We'll see. You're also going to see that discussion play out in terms of preparation. It costs money for XL Energy to put more protection in place so your energy's not interrupted. Makes sense, right? But they're allowed to charge back the cost of that preparation to you as the public utilities rate case, they call it. And it's kind of like, do you want to fix the roof on your house? Well, I kind of don't want to spend the money on the roof, but I also kind of don't want it leaking. And everyone's like, well, we'll get it done next month. Suddenly there's a rainstorm, and now everyone's like, why didn't you fix the roof? Well, I didn't want to spend the money on it. And those same decisions on a greater magnitude are made at the state level with, wait for it, your tax dollars. How's that, Senator Flynn?
That pretty well answers it, and I just have one other little thing.
Senator Flynn, at this point I have to take another question from Senator Wing, and I will take this last question, and then after that, if we have more questions, we'll request more time from...
Just call me at home at night.
All right. Senator Wing, you have the floor.
Senator Wing, you look very nice today. I just want to say that. I like your style.
I had a question regarding a bill that was proposed by Senator Carla Nelson of Minnesota, seat 26. She was, in my conversations with her last year, she was talking about proposing a bill regarding smog checks, such as what's implemented in California. I was just wondering if that has gained any traction in committee or if there's been any sort of talk around something like that.
Are you referring to the catalytic converter thefts or actually the smog check bill, which said we're going to try to decrease air pollution?
I believe it was the smog check bill.
Yeah, I know that bill. Senator Nelson is the senator from one half of Rochester. You must be from Rochester.
Yep.
And at one time chaired the education, the E12, the elementary ed, but that bill did not come through and get a hearing. And it makes a good point, Senator. About 3,000 bills introduced per session with the potential for 200 or 300 to be heard. And of those 200 or 300, maybe 150 or so will be incorporated in the final packages, often called omnibus bills. I can't resist asking, and you can't stop me. Do you favor that bill or oppose it?
I personally am opposed to it. I would just...
Aha, now I have you. Tell us, Senator. Why would you oppose it?
I disagree with that idea of imposing that extra cost on the people of our state to have to go and have that additional testing done. I can't remember what the basis it was in that bill, but just personally, that cost associated with it is what.
Very reasonable. I mean, that's the exact kind of thing I'm talking about. I know this is our last question, but perfect example where there's probably a collective benefit, but are we going to put an individual cost on depending on your emphasis on the cost? Some families don't have a lot of money. Or your emphasis on climate change or carbon emissions, you come down on one side or the other. But it's a perfect example of how you're balancing the interest of the individual with the collective. And it has one other feature, if you don't mind. Public health is kind of expensive. Our number one budget is health and human services. And so there's this discussion about how far you go to reduce our collective health expenses, like lung disease. And someone's saying, well, I don't even own a car, and I don't want to, have the health care expense of this many people getting asthma or whatever it is. And so it's an excellent point, Senator, that you're talking about the cost of that one car owner, right? And what are the benefits? And of course, to the senator's question, you'd also add this little tiny feature. We don't have a crystal ball. We're not sure exactly. For all we know, it's of incredible benefit to the public health, or no benefit, or it's a massive savings, or not really that big a deal because in 2 years they saw it. So thank you for that. You do really look nice. I mean, I'm just telling you. It's okay to say that, isn't it?
It is. All right. Thank you for beautifully covering all the information in your presentation. Do you have a comment? Okay. All right. So I'll take that comment in a second. And answering all our questions. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm sure this was a great exposure for the Senate. I will take one more comment from President Stiff, and then I have a last request from you.
Sure.
Well, I think it's the same request. We just want a picture with you.
Yeah, we want to request a picture. So if we can have all our
I've still got to run
senators.
to the car to get these brochures, which I'm sure you're all dying to read. It's a summary of the last year. Do you want me to take the picture and then go get them?
Let's take the picture first, and then we can do that. And then I'm going to request all the senators to come to this corner of the room. Thank you.
All right.
Maybe some people are sitting
Squeeze to the center.
Okay. All right.
Senator in the middle.
In the middle and the back.
Yeah, we're here the college.
Oh, in the middle of the middle.
There we go. Nice catch. Come on.
I think it's
Can you say you're being exploited in the
What are these notes?
All right.
Keeping our masks on, right?
Yeah, mask on, everyone. Smile under your mask.
1, 2, 3. Smile.
Oh no, you. No.
This is a crazy bunch.
Hi, friends. Should I?
I think so. I'm missing some people back there.
Gentlemen with the glasses.
Yeah, we should.
If I was in the back, there'd be way more room for people.
Okay, those in front of the tall people, over to the side, please.
What picture does not have the tall people in back?
All right, are you ready? Set. Go. All right.
awesome. Thank you.
Sir, I'll go get the
Very nice to meet you. All right.
Senator Friend really said that in vice grip.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that not appropriate? Thank you so much,
Sorry.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Guys, let's get seated real quick so that we can get started with the rest of the meeting. All right. Thank you so much for me. Our next order of business, guys, if we can have everyone seated. All right. Getting back to our meeting. Next order of business, I have open forum. Do I have anyone for open forum today? Brian Schneider. Sorry, I'm just like messing with things. Brian, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. It kind of, is this on? Can you hear me?
Can someone from IT Solutions help Brian with the mic?
Got it.
Or John. Thank you, John.
Hello, I'm Brian Schneider, and I'm one of the directors and assistant CIOs in IT Solutions. And to kind of piggyback off of Senator Frentz's talk, how can you serve better in your positions? One of the ways that you can do it is to join us in a committee. It's the Tech Fee Advisory Committee, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. But I'm here for two reasons. One is to talk about the Tech Fee Advisory Committee, and the other one is to give you an update of what some of the things that my team is working on in IT Solutions. So if you look at just what it takes to pull off a student government meeting like this, you have all the microphones around the room, the owls, you've got speakers in the ceiling, you've got all these high-definition cameras, 4 high-definition cameras, the monitors around the room, You've got the staff that set up everything and tear it down and run the cameras. You've got staff back here. You've got a couple of racks of equipment back here, plus computers, document cameras. Gosh, what else? There's carts out in the room. There's cabling all over. And all of this is cabled back to a control room down the hall where Robert Peterson is down there. He's producing all of this, putting graphics on the screen, making sure that everything is controlled with the Zoom environment. Let's see, he's streaming it out to the internet, and that's where the network comes in. So we provide the network and the wireless network for you in the room. Zoom, we support Zoom as well. And hello, senators that are out in Zoom land, and gallery that's out in Zoom. And that's some of the services that we need just to make this meeting possible. And if you look at some of the how's all this paid for, some of it is provided by the CSU funds that you give, and the rest of it is supplied by tech fees. And if you think of all the map or the FlexSync rooms that we have around campus, we have about 150 of them. A lot of this technology is in that room. Audiovisual equipment, and then you look at all the other classrooms we have in all the other buildings. We have audiovisual equipment, projectors, screens, and things like that in all those rooms as well. And then if you look at all the computer labs, the specialized software that we have, and the equipment that's in those rooms, that's all funded by tech fees as well, including all of the general purpose computer labs that we have throughout campus that you can use to collaborate and create and do your work and hand in your assignments. So what we do with the Technology Fee Committee is we look at technology service all around campus. Not only the stuff that Tech Fee pays for, but all the other sort of financing that we get from general funds and other sources. And you get a really in-depth view, a detailed view of how the money is spent. You look at our budget, and we show you all the services that are provided by IT Solutions. Along the way, you help us put together a plan of what we're going to look at next year. And part of this is consulting with the students, student senators like yourself, and also faculty, so that we get some ideas, because we don't know everything. We need ideas from students of how to best use student tech fee and how technology should be applied around campus. So how can you be involved? You can volunteer to be on our Student Tech Fee Advisory Committee. You've been talking a lot about SAC over the last couple of weeks, but this is probably the second most interesting committee that you can serve on. Now, to get on that, if you're interested in doing that, contact President Stiff and get appointed to this Tech Fee Advisory Committee, and that's going to be starting up in January, and it lasts for 6 weeks, and we'll be reporting back to the student government at the end of those meetings. So you can get involved in that way. The second thing that I wanted to do is give you an update of what my team is working on in IT Solutions. One of the biggest things is we're deeply involved right now with designing and building the next generation of the network. And that includes the local area network and the Wi-Fi. Some of the equipment is purchased, and the next round of equipment will be purchased over the next couple of years. But we're going to be rebuilding everything, and the idea is to have a more secure environment, a more robust environment that doesn't go down, and also a much faster network as well, to be able to provide students with all of the speed and resources that you're going to need for networking. Some of these devices are already Wi-Fi 6 enabled, which is about 4 times faster than Wi-Fi 5. But most of our buildings are Wi-Fi 5, and we're upgrading those to Wi-Fi 6. So we're doing a local area network upgrade and a Wi-Fi upgrade as well. So that's some of the things that we're working on. Another thing we're looking at is a proof of concept for Zoom phones. Zoom does great meetings, but they also have the ability to provide a phone system. So we're doing a proof of concept to see if that's robust enough to replace our existing phones in our emergency broadcast system, as well as if it's going to save us money in the long run. So we're evaluating that. One more thing is I'm working with Verizon to try to get 5G on campus and surrounding campus. And another thing is if you live in apartment buildings off campus, I'm working with MetroNet to try to get fiber in so that we can offer faster speeds to residents around Mankato, better internet service, and reasonably cost internet service too. Because that's one of the things that I hear a lot about is that students that are off campus, Some of them in their apartment buildings, they really don't have good, reliable Wi-Fi, so we're working on that as well. But that's just some of what we're doing in my team. You can learn a lot more about this being on the TechV Advisory Committee, so please volunteer for that, and we'll get you signed up, and we'll start that in January. Your time is valuable. Thanks for having me on Open Forum, and I can answer any questions.
All right. Do I have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing as no further questions, thank you for coming in today, Brian, and speaking with us. All right. Do I have anyone else for Open Forum? Anyone for Open Forum? Walid Soleri?
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Oh, sorry. Hello. Can everyone hear me now?
We can hear you, but the mic is...
Okay, sounds good. Well, let me just catch a breath real quick. I just ran down the stairs and came back. So, I wanted to actually discuss about the International Student Association. I'm actually here as a capacity as the president for the International Student Association. I wanted to bring it to your kind attention if you guys could approve the student organizations that fall under the ISA tree. I'm sure they should be part of your agenda.
Yes, they are the part of the agenda today.
My only request is that if you guys can approve those so the student organizations can be back on track. We do have another person from the forum, Uzair Usman, who's the president for the Pakistan Student Federation. He would like to share a few words as well. But apart from that, I'd like to appreciate all the work you guys have been doing and, of course, continue doing the work for students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, before I leave.
Do I have any questions? I don't think so.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Did you say that we're going to have someone else coming as well?
He's just going to have a few words, please.
Okay, give me a second. All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd just like to say thank you for helping all the student organizations into doing whatever they're doing right now. I'm pretty sure all the communities are being recognized, even by the student government. We do appreciate all the help we've been receiving. It's been a big step making our own community organization, and we do hope to serve you all and be a part of campus as much as you all are. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else for Open Forum? All right, moving on to our next order of business, which is approval of consent agenda. We do have quite a bit on the approval of consent agenda today, which I'm hoping that all of you have copies for. Do I have any dissent on the approval of consent agenda? Any dissent on the approval of consent agenda?
Point of order.
State that.
So just to kind of explain a little bit more about the organizations you all see on here, there's a bunch on this agenda. Basically, student government kind of just gives a final stamp of approving student organizations, so that is why there are so many on the agenda today.
All right. Do I have any dissent on the approval of consent agenda? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seen as no dissent, the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to next order of business, which is officer reports. I'm going to start with President Stiff.
Welcome to Senate again, everyone. I have a few things for us today. First things first, we have another hockey event coming up where student senators will get a chance to kind of hang out in the President's Suite. I believe this one was being hosted by Dr. David Jones. And so that is scheduled for the MSU President's Suite on November 13th. We have another event coming up similarly. I'll give Senator Novak a chance to talk about that later during announcements. But basically, it's just a chance for you to hang out with in the President's Suite, a chance for you to bond with senators and have fun at a hockey game. So just email me if you're interested about that. We only have a limited number of tickets, so it's first come, first serve on that. We will be having another meet and confer tomorrow, and that is from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. It is a chance to see the behind the scenes of how student government interacts with the president and his cabinet, and it's also student government's chance to kind of get our voices out and the student perspective out to cabinet about what goes on behind the scenes and what is happening at the university at the administrative level. Senators, of course, are always welcome to join this meeting via Zoom or in person. Again, it's at 8:30 a.m., so I don't know how many of y'all are up at that time, but if you can, you are welcome to come. And it does count as some of your office hours. Last but not least, next Wednesday, November 10th, we're doing a special event. So usually you all have committee meetings from 3 to 4, but in light of giving everyone a chance to bond and get to know each other, we also have some new senators that we would like you all to kind of get to know a little bit more. Instead of having a regular student affairs or academic affairs meeting, you all will be having a chance to attend the bonfire / s'more / pizza making event outside hosted by Maverick Adventures. Your coordinators have been instructed to let you all go by around 3:50 so you can make it back to Senate. But I do have 3 asks of you since this is a special opportunity. 1, please dress warm. You will be outside for at least 30 minutes. 2, get to know someone you haven't talked to in Senate before. So sometimes we sit in our same seats or we talk to the same people, but talk to someone else that you haven't talked to in Senate before, please. And then 3, make sure that you're back to Senate by 4, please. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Do I have any questions for President Stiff? Vice President Whistle?
President Stiff, can you send around sign-up sheets for the hockey game and stuff like that? I feel like we have better response when we send those than emails.
Okay. That is very true. Do Senator Hawk?
So my question is, if you're not being able to attend the entire time during the hockey game, can we still sign up for maybe half of the game?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Senator Nowak?
Point of personal preference or privilege, would it actually be possible to wait to send the hockey sign-up around until I also announce the hockey game that we have on the 12th?
Yes, sure.
I could also do that now if that's easier.
We'll wait.
Okay.
All right. Do I have any other questions? Seeing as no further questions, I'm going to move on to Vice President Whistle.
Hi guys, I'm going to try and keep it short today. Just wanted to apologize for the late start. Our office manager is out, and so we had a whole printing fiasco trying to find agendas, but I'm grateful for your patience. The one thing I wanted to talk about first was that November is Hunger Awareness Month, and so we've been partnering with SAC, not Mark Constantine SAC, Athletic SAC, to do some events with them and with the sports teams to try and have a little competition to see which team can raise can collect the most amount of non-perishables to donate to the Maverick Food Pantry. And so I think it'd be fun if we competed with them. So I'll talk to Senator Novak about that. But that's something to keep in mind. Also, just in November, there's more hunger programming, and since we're so focused on student basic needs, it's a great time to get more informed. Next thing is on the 16th, there is going to be a chili cook-off. Senator Osmond, do you know more about that? If not, that's fine.
I do.
Okay. Can I yield to Mark Constantine?
Yes, you can.
Chili cook-off from 11 to 1 o'clock, $2. Or bring some food for a donation. There's 4 competitors. It's the dietitian from Dining Services, President Inch, Multicultural Affairs, and the Office of Student Activities. You get a little sample of each one of them, and then there's a little voting procedure, and the person that wins gets a nice little trophy for the year. The last time we had this, we haven't had it in over a year. Multicultural Affairs had diversity inclusion. Multicultural Affairs Office has one there. So great event. $2. See if you get enough food for your time there, or bring some donation to add to the donation box food-wise. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that, and I'd encourage you to go to that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is as it's getting colder, we talked about at retreat making some student government merch. I'm personally in favor of sweatshirts, but the PR and marketing committee is going to be talking about that and coming up with some designs. So if you have opinions, if you have an eye for fashion, please join them on Mondays at 2:15 in the Student Government Conference Room. And that's all.
Awesome. Senator Nowak?
I'm going to make a comment piggybacking off of that statement about the merch. Please join us, because I have a horrible eye for fashion and a horrible sense of fashion, so I definitely am going to need some help with that.
Count me in for that. Do I have any other questions? Any further questions? Seeing as no further questions, we're going to move on to the last officer report of the day, which is my report. So we did have President Inch invited all of us to join him in his president's suit for the hockey, which I just want to take the opportunity to thank the president. We had a great time there. We did we had some really good discussion on how to do more collaborations, how can student government be more involved in some of the newer initiatives that the president have, and we talked about some of the new ways to get students more involved, both in student government and athletics. It was a great time. Secondly, your officer reports. For the people who only signed up for one officer report, please reach out to me, sign up for your second officer report, because if you don't, then I'm going to have to put you on a day which might not work the best for you. So please just let me know that this day works best for you, and I will put you on for that day. For the people over Zoom, I have reached out to, I think, everyone at this point. But if you still haven't signed up for your senator report, just in case you were over Zoom or not present, you can always email me which days you prefer, and I can put you on for those days. Again, office hours, if presence is not working, which it seems to be not working for like 80% of us. So just email me. At this point, it's not a question. If you can email me, please go ahead and email me office hours, and I will count them. And so before I have my last thing, do I have any questions at this point? Senator Hashimoto?
So wait, you mean the presence, any submission through the presence is not working, so you cannot really review it?
If it is working for you, well and good. If
Sure.
it is not working for you, just email me your office hours.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, yeah.
Yes. Do we have any other questions? Any further questions? Any further questions? Seeing as no further questions, we're going to move on to our next order of business, which is senator reports. We do not have any senator reports for today. Moving on to vacancies. Once again, I'm going to announce the vacancies we have. We have an off-campus senator. We have a allied health and nursing senator, College of Education senator, social and behavioral sciences senator, arts and humanities senator, and social and behavioral sciences senator, which was introduced last week. So election for this position will be open from next week. If I am right, I have one. So I did send out the candidate guide for 2 candidates, but one of the candidates unfortunately cannot make it to this meeting. So he will be joining us in our next week's meeting, but I believe I have 1 candidate. If you do, you have the floor. You can come on in, introduce yourself, and then I can also tell you how this will work. Yep. Yes, Senator Hart?
So they're both standing, as it's Charles, they're both standing for the same position. And
Social and behavioral sciences. Senator Nolan.
Howdy. Yeah, so both of those individuals are going for the same position. That position does have 2 openings. One of those is not open until next week. And one of the individuals that is running for that position stated to me that they would prefer to come next week rather than this week, at which point, because there are 2 openings and that position is opening next week, there will still be a vacancy for them to be able to run in the event that we do elect this candidate if we choose to go that way.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So how this will work is you will have 2 minutes to talk about your experience and why you're a good candidate for this position. Then I will open the floor for questions in which senators can ask you questions. After answering those questions, you will have 1 minute of closing statement. Does it all make sense to you?
Yep.
All right. You can get started with your 2
All right,
minutes.
if I take this off, so you guys can hear me, I'm kind of quiet.
For sure.
All right, I'm Bennett Hansen. I'm a nominee for the SBS. I guess would be a vacancy at this point. I am currently a senior and a major for urban and regional studies with a minor in anthropology, where I hope to help design communities for minority groups and kind of groups that aren't really have been designed for in past American society we're currently in. I am currently the RHA Vice President alongside Patrick Flynn right there. And I feel like that has allowed me to understand what's happened both through Senate updates with Joey Novak, who is a friend of mine. Nice to see you, Joey. And also to kind of understand how we on MSU campus formulate our student government and student body organizations. I really want this position because I'm very passionate about the accelerated graduate program, especially within my college. I don't know how it works with other colleges, but from my own personal experience, there exists no accelerated graduate program for my specific major, though we do have a graduate program for my intended graduate set, but it comes from a different undergrad, which seems odd to me. And me and a couple of the teachers had expressed that we want to develop an accelerated undergrad program for this specific major, as to not need to repeat the same classes or similar classes at a higher price point at a later date for a similar grade. I should also mention that I am living on campus. This is my second year here because I had transferred. I originally attended Iowa State and Taft Community College, which is part of the Minnesota State system. So I believe being at multiple colleges also gives me a heightened sense of how colleges work and how different colleges work.
All right.
I am currently on the dean's list as well.
All right, so we have hit your 2 minutes limit. I will open the floor for questions. Do we have any questions? Vice President Soberso.
Hi, could you tell me a little bit about some concerns? I love the idea that you have related to your specific major, but as I'm sure you're aware, this represents the whole college. Can you kind of give me a sense of what you think could be worked on in the whole college in addition to this project?
Well, currently I wanted to contact the department if I were to be elected, contact the department as a representative and to understand how the accelerated graduate programs work within the entire college, because I know there exists other programs and it would work with those to make those better. I also believe that the way the government part of the college and that it is under the SBS is a little funky and can create some confusion for students. I'd like to clarify that more, if that answers your question.
Thank you.
President Stipp.
All right, y'all, I gotta do it. So, what is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
This is a traditional question.
Cliche, yeah. My greatest, let's do weakness first. My greatest weakness is I am too agreeable. I am almost a pushover in some regards. I do not get angry. And so it's hard to understand what I am because I am everything, I would say. And then my greatest strength would probably be it's a similar thing. I am agreeable with everyone. I will not fight with anyone. I can understand anyone's viewpoint. I have that background in anthropology, and I believe that will help. So I think that should answer your question.
Yeah, so can I add a comment?
Yes, you can add a comment.
So if elected, you are going to have to fight for your constituents, though. So there might be faculty, other people that disagree with you, so that would be your main role, but I appreciate your honesty.
Thank you. Senate... No? Okay. Senator Bassett.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you have worked with the two previous committees, and so can you tell me one significant lesson that you have learned from working those two committees that you will be applying if you become a senator of College of Social and Behavioral Science Senator? Science, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have been in the same program for different schools. They have it under different names. They have the same at ICC, but under a different name at Iowa State. Basically, I would like to see it as a comparative sense where I can see where they did things right in my belief and where they did things wrong in my belief. Specifically, parking, which is something I'm interested in, and how they did it at other colleges compared to here, and if that was good in my opinion, if that was bad in my opinion.
All right. Do I have any other questions? Any questions from Zoom? Any last questions? All right. No further questions. At this point, we will go ahead and do your 1 minute finishing statement. Try to make your case why we should all vote for you. All right. You have the floor.
Thank you. I would like to be a senator, kind of bad at this point. I've found myself becoming more and more involved with the MSU, which I hadn't in the past because I've had more free time. As injuries have got me out of extracurricular, I can't pronounce that, activities. And so I found myself with more free time and with better and better grades. I believe I can take the burden of this position. And with some close friends in student government, I think it would be fun, honestly. Thank you.
All right. So now I will ask you to step out of the chamber, but hang around because we will open the floor for discussion. So don't go anywhere. You can hang out here. There's some sitting back there. And once we're done, I will come and get you.
Thank you.
All right. And then I would like to request ID Solutions to
Recording in progress.
All right, everybody. We have had an election. And Ben has been elected as a senator. You got your pictures ready? All right. I would like you to take the stand and repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
Bennett Hansen.
Will represent and serve.
Will represent and serve.
The students of Minnesota State University.
The students of Minnesota State University.
Mankato.
Mankato.
In student life.
In student life.
And academic needs.
And academic needs.
And will uphold the mission.
And uphold the mission.
Constitution.
Constitution.
And bylaws.
And bylaws.
Of Minnesota.
Of Minnesota.
State University.
State University.
Mankato.
Mankato.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
All right, congratulations. You can take a seat on the table. So next order of business, at this time, I would like to request our Dean of the Day, Dean Budge, join in from Zoom.
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate I was asked to join on relatively short notice. Dean Dahlman was required to be elsewhere, but she asked if I would be able to sit in, so I appreciate the chance to be here. I appreciated the words from Senator Frentz. He did a great job, and I'm sure you learned a lot from him. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to hear the voices as shared. If there are things that we can be helping from the Council of Deans perspective, please let me know, and I can share that with the group. We typically do get good reports of the efforts being made by the student government, so we appreciate your efforts on behalf of the students and our community as a whole, and anything that we can do to help you out in your initiatives, please reach out.
Thank you. Do I have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing as no further questions, moving on to our next order of business, which is new business. I do not have any new business for today. Moving on to old business. No old business for today. Moving on to announcements. Senator Nowak.
Hi, I have a couple things to talk about. So first I'm going to talk about that hockey game that was previously mentioned. So in addition to the hockey game that's going on the 13th, that is in the presidential suite. We have a different hockey game that's going on the 12th that we've been invited to by SAC, not the Mark Constantine SAC, the athletic SAC. We're going to be doing that a lot. Yeah, but that one does not have a limit on how many people are able to go. However, that is one where they would like to know how many people are going ahead of time so that they can get an accurate count of tickets. And that's going to, they said that the puck will drop at 7, so anticipate starting around like 6:30. That's on a Friday for the 12th for that one. They want a good head count for that. And then that's in addition to the one on the 13th with Dr. Jones in the presidential suite that Rihanna was talking about. In addition to that, I also have some other things to drop that got brought to my attention in PR and marketing, which is that there are 2 marathons going on the exact same day, the 13th. And I was asked if it was possible to see if we can get some senators to go out there to show some presence. The first marathon is on the 13th, Saturday. It's a 5K stride challenge. It is at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Sibley Park. So that's an early morning, get up, run, start your Saturday off, get like hyped, get the energy. And that's being put on by the YMCA. And then the other one is an IBE 5K being put on by our College of Business, specifically through the Mankato Millers. That's going to be 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Starts at the Myers Fieldhouse. They are also offering where if you donate $20, you get a t-shirt and donuts. And so I wanted to plug those as well. If we can get senators to come out to that, that would be awesome. I plan on going and taking some pictures for PR and marketing. Allegedly, Stomper may also be present at the Stride Challenge, so was hoping to maybe get some pictures of senators with Stomper if possible. That is all from me.
Senator Wing?
So I have mentioned this in previous meetings. It's just getting finalized now, so I wanted to bring it up again. Turning Point USA and the Law Club here at Mankato State are hosting a group called the Alliance Defending Freedom. They're a law firm dedicated to promoting First Amendment rights on campus and defending those whose rights have been gone against. So that will be held at 7 p.m. on November 16th in the South Ballroom. It starts at 7 and then we have a reception at 8 and we are working on getting catering there with hors d'oeuvres and beverages as well.
Thank you. Senator Chimezie?
Next week, Monday, November 8th, the IBO, the International Business Organization, are having a guest speaker, Dallas Clarks, Sean. He's the CEO of Fund.com, and it would be nice to come out and just hear what he has to say. 5 p.m., Morris Hall, 210. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Saverso.
Just to add on to what Senator Novak said, the game on Friday, which is the SAC game, I was told by Abby from that SAC that they're getting like pizza and stuff like they did for the volleyball game. And then on Saturday in the President's Suite, it's usually catered, so you can expect more free food there. So if that's any incentive, yeah.
President Stair.
So when speaking about these games, it's not all business, and student government all the time. So these are probably going to be some of our last more fun events before the semester ends. So we are already in November. With that being said, we will not be having a meeting the week of Thanksgiving, nor will we be having a meeting finals week. So please come to these events. They're going to be some of the last we have for this semester.
All right. Talking from my own experience, it was a great game that we joined. Oh my God, John. I was going to call John for this event.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a few things from the Office of Student Activities. We have coming up tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. in Ostrander Auditorium, the Student Events team is hosting Northwoods Bingo. Is available in the Ostrander and also on Zoom, so free to attend and win prizes. So I know that'll happen tomorrow night. And then, not this weekend, but the following weekend, there is a night at the WOW Zone being hosted as well for MSU folks. So please be sure to attend those if you so desire. Also, you saw on your agenda today a list of student organizations that have been recognized. On my way out the door and on my way up here, I was told that there are 144 organizations that have been approved and completed the process. There are 123 that have not been approved yet. So if you happen to know any student organization that should be on that list that isn't yet, you might give them a nudge and say, hey, make sure you've completed your process. There are some who are experiencing some technical difficulties with Presence, the new online system. And if they are experiencing those technical difficulties, they can work with our Maverick involvement team to resolve those. So please be sure and encourage them to do that. So look forward to continuing to work with you throughout the rest of the semester.
Thank you. Do I have any last announcements? Senator Wink?
I also forgot to plug this really quick. Directly following this meeting, there is a gubernatorial debate held in the ballroom. They have 6 of the GOP candidates that are vying for endorsement. So if that is something that would interest you, be sure to stop by. It goes from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. tonight in the ballroom.
Thank you. Do I have any last announcements? Any announcements? Any announcements? Moving on to roll call. Senators. Do I have a second? Second. Do I have any defend? Oh my God. Defend? No, wait. Dissent. I'm losing my mind. Do I have any dissent? What's the motion?
We know.
I got it. All right. So the roll call is waived. I officially adjourn this meeting at 5:43 p.m. I will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
All right.
Can you right now?